Hey guys, welcome back to yet another YouTube video. Firstly, before we jump into this video, we just want to extend a big thank you to everyone that just celebrated us, reached out to us, sent us messages in regards to us extending the family. It meant the world to us. So thank you so much.
It's been such a fun season. We love that we get to share it with you. So thank you for celebrating us. And today we have another video and we're super excited about it because it's gonna be about prayer and especially in a relationship setting.
Yep, 100%. We say this a lot to young couples, but we say that if you want Jesus at the center of your marriage, at the center of your dating relationship or engaged relationship or marriage, that you need to have Jesus at the center of your personal life.
Yes.
And just to kind of preface before we jump in, you know, a life of prayer really is access to a life of having God's influence in your world. And so we all want greater wisdom. We all want greater revelation. We all want to share the love of God, not just within our marriage, but into the world. And the way that we access that is truly through a lifestyle of prayer. And so we're pumped to jump in and talk a little bit about that today and how Lily and I do this even in our own marriage.
Yeah, we have a lot of couples that come up to us and ask us, you know, how do you guys do, you know, a relationship with God together?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys do it together or separate? So we just wanted to create a YouTube video so that kind of clear any questions that might be arising in your guys' life and hopefully encourage you guys.
You know, starting off, Lily and I did a lot of different things and trying to see if we would spend time together with God or if we would do it separately. We tried a lot of different things, and through this trying and testing, we really came to a sweet spot of how we both function.
I'm sure everyone does it differently, so just because we do it a certain way does not mean this is the only way to do it, but we just want to share with you our journey in regards to that.
100%. So where do we begin?
Where do we begin?
Let's begin back
in the beginning.
Yes, in the genesis of our relationship. Lee and I, when we got together, and even when we were dating and would have times together with the Lord in the beginning, I would be soaking in the presence, worshiping God, really just petitioning by hearing the voice of God. And Lily's way of doing it was journaling, and you would also read scripture and you would pray, you'd petition. And so for us coming into that setting, it was awesome just to see the difference. But we noticed that when we would spend time together, it wouldn't be like corporate worship necessarily or corporate praying, but it would be more like together but separate.
I think when we tried to do it, like, for example, Jack's way, I realized like I wasn't connecting to the Lord. So he was just like, so in the place of just connecting with the Lord so hard, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, this isn't working. And the beautiful thing about it is like throughout the years, like we get to learn from each other, and like, wow, like I love the way that you connect to the Lord through this way. What I'm gonna try and like build that myself. But also there's beauty in you, just what you've established in the Lord, to continue doing that and growing in that.
Something that was really beneficial for us was the fact of continuously asking each other, what is God speaking? What is God saying? When you were praying this morning, when you were journaling, when you were worshiping, what was God highlighting? And so even though that in our culture, in our family, the way that we pursue God is different, and yes, we do it together, but we do it in a different way, a different expression. It doesn't mean that you have nothing to bring to the table to benefit someone else. And so for us, we made it a culture in our marriage that if God is speaking to you, share it and let's process it, let's explore it together.
And I guess the reason we're bringing this up, because sometimes there's this expectation that like, oh wow, like you're getting married, this is what time with God looks like. You always have to be together, it's in unity, and there's beauty in that, and there's a time and space for that. But I did want to read a scripture in Matthew 6:6, and it says, but you, when you pray, go into your room, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father who is in a secret place, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. So I think as beautiful as it is like there's a place, kind of like Jack was saying, where we come together, we worship together, we share what God's doing together. We had like a whole year where we read the Bible together every single day as one. But at the end of the day, like still you need to find your secret time with the Lord, and whatever that looks like. So don't neglect it and don't get discouraged like, oh, me and my husband, we're having a hard time, you know, connecting with the Lord together. Like, don't get discouraged. You do it your way, he can do it his way. Like for example, for me, like a lot of times, like when I'm driving, that's my time with the Lord. You know, for Jack, he'll go on a walk with the Lord, and then we'll come back, and it's incredible how when you spend time with the Lord, even separate, when you come together, a lot of times we notice he's been speaking to us very similar things, like 100%. Same theme, and we get to expand on it and just grow together.
And so I think the bridge to connect a life together in God is that you would constantly be sharing with each other what God is saying, what He's speaking, what He's highlighting. Also, another thing that I see as a bridge in our relationship together with God is that when we're contending for breakthrough, we stand together in that. And so when there's a need or there's something that we're believing God for, we will come together in one accord and we will press in and petition and believe for breakthrough together. Even if it looks different in the way that you guys spend time with God, you can still come together and bring the message and bring what God is releasing into unity together. And also I think another piece just to add as well, it's vitally important to pray for your spouse. And now that we have a baby boy on the way, it's something that I continuously pray. And same with Lily, like each day I'm praying, I'm like, God, I bless my wife, I bless my baby. Lord, would you raise this child up to be a world changer? It's a continuous offering to the Lord as I petition and pray for my family. And so these are just some ways that you guys can bridge that connection and make sure you're on the same page.
And maybe you're thinking, hey, like, I'm afraid to pray out loud in front of my husband. I know we've got a few messages in regards to that, like how do I start? And I think honestly it starts in your secret place with the Lord. If you're praying, like start there where you're safe. It's just you and God, and pray out loud. And a prayer is simply a conversation. Like some days as I'm driving to work, it's just me sharing all my worries and everything I feel, and then just giving space to give Him worship, but also space to receive and hear from Him. And if you're going to be doing that in your secret place, it's not going to be hard any longer to pray for your spouse out loud, because you've established that on your own.
You have this God confidence because you've done it in the secret place. I love this quote, Lily. It says that if you can kneel before God, you can stand before anyone. And so if you kneel before the Lord and you petition, you pray, and you have that conversation with the Lord, you can then stand before anyone in any place and begin to pray, begin to speak. Also, I know that there's a lot of people that are watching and maybe you're like, hey, I'm on fire for God. I'm a prayer warrior, but my spouse, my husband, my wife, they're kind of in a season where they're not pursuing God. And I just wanted to give some encouragement to you guys in these times where your husband or wife feels distant from the Lord. What you can be doing in your time of prayer is asking God, Lord, what are you saying over them? God, what do you want to speak to them? God, what are you highlighting in their life? And as the Lord begins to speak to you in that secret place, you can then bring it to that public place with your spouse and encourage them. For example, you could pray in the morning, God, what are you wanting to speak over my spouse through the scripture? And God will highlight a scripture to you, and you can present that to your spouse during the day. Like, hey honey, I was praying for you and the Lord showed me this scripture and I just want to encourage you, and this is what the Lord is speaking over your life. And so I know that everyone's on a different journey with God, and I know that you guys are praying for your spouse, but also minister to your spouse. This is an amazing thing that God's asked us to do. Not just minister to the wider world, but minister in our family. Ministry starts in the home. And so as you minister to your spouse, as you minister to your kids, you'll overflow into ministering to the world around you.
And some of the most valuable moments, even in our marriage, is those moments where we sit and we just pray for each other and just genuinely like bless each other and hear the Lord for each other, because that's like, it's not just us speaking life, but it's like hearing God for the person you love most. Maybe some of you are new to this journey and you're like, hey, how do I pray? How do I connect with God? We just wanted to throw a few different things of ways that you can figure out what works for you in connection with God. For example, for some people it's the nature. For me, I love the nature. So there's times where I will go stand up paddleboarding and I'm in the middle of the lake and I just feel God so close, and I
like that as well.
there.
That's powerful.
For others, it could be being, in their room and just studying the word and like praying over scripture, which I love to do as well, and journaling. For others, it's worship and just soaking and receiving from the Lord. For others, it could be through activity, or like it could look so many different ways.
I think one thing we have to come to the understanding of is that the beautiful scriptures say that we can boldly come to the throne of God. And so we don't come as orphans, we don't come as rejected children, we come as sons and daughters. And that means that you can have a conversation with God as your Father. And when you have a conversation with your Father, it can be a natural, authentic, real conversation. conversation. And that's all prayer is. Prayer is just a conversation with God where you would petition, you would give, and you would also receive of what he's saying.
Yeah.
And so we just bless you guys today, and that you would have an amazing, fiery life of prayer in your personal life, but also in your relationships.
And just remember, the more time you spend with God, the more trust you gain with him. It's just like any relationship. The more time you spend with the Lord, just like the more time I spend with my husband, the more trust is gained, the more I receive his heart, you know?
Good.
I can't really know fully God's heart if I don't spend time with him, just like I wouldn't know what's really in Jack's heart if I never spent time with him.
Well, guys, we love you so much. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope this just gave so much value and just really empowered you to walk in a greater measure of God's goodness. We love you, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.